Welcome to another edition of the Two World Podcast. I'm one of your co hosts, Jacob, and I have with me today my other co host, who is.
I am Barney.
And we're both excited to talk with you today about breakfast. This is a topic that has come up, and as we started thinking about it and looking at photos that we've taken surrounding breakfast and considering the stories that we have, we got really excited about exploring this topic. Breakfast touches on many aspects of life, family relationships, holidays, memories, but also broader things like culture and international travel. And so in our episode today, we're hoping to touch in various ways on these different topics and enjoy the phenomenon that is breakfast. And so to get us started as we take this deep dive into the topic, I'm going to turn it over to you, Barney. And what have you brought with us today as we are starting out to explore this topic? And how would you like to get us started?
Yeah, I think this is another one we've had on our Google Doc for a while on our idea page. And, everyone says, oh, breakfast is the most important meal of the day. And um, I, I have run into a lot of neat things about breakfast. One of my favorite episodes of This American Life, the person kind of telling her one little vignette story within the episode. She says how a lot of people, when they're recording someone, before they start recording, they test microphone levels by just asking them, what did you have for breakfast today? And you see this kind of thing like come up here and there, like on, maybe it'll be mentioned on TV or just here and there. And one of my very first year teaching at the university, even we decided to have like a review session, and our topic was our class was like our kind of theme for our course was kind of just general, like dealing with culture and dealing with like everyday life. And I wanted to keep it nice and fresh, and I wanted to give the students a chance to have a debate, or to give persuasive speeches. So I gave them a list of topics, and one of them was, is breakfast the most important meal of the day? And I was surprised that it was a very popular topic for the groups to work on. And since they were, med students, like they some of them really got into it. They're like, well, your blood sugar goes down at nighttime, and you need to have, breakfast to get the glucose levels up, and this and that. And it was fun. It made me realize, the more I thought about it, breakfast really is the most important meal of the day, not just for our sustenance, but for getting our day started, and for sharing, hopefully, everyone is getting together, getting up at the same time, moving in the same space, sometimes in a rush, but everyone's kind of in the same orbit at breakfast, not necessarily at other meals, but for sure at breakfast, everyone is working together in the same orbit at that time. And it's also one of those meals that, you can make really special, and, it can be really ordinary kind of thing, or, you can go out for breakfast. Going out for breakfast is such a special thing. And I have a number of photos that cover all of these themes. But personally, breakfast has been one of the meals that, like, I've tried to, I don't want to say perfect, but I've tried to really kind of make it my own, like, what is the best breakfast for me? And I have like real long chunks of my timeline of my life where I'm like, oh yeah, this is the best breakfast, oh no, that one didn't work, let's refine it a bit, this is the best breakfast. Yeah, for a while I was having toast, and then I thought, well, maybe I don't need that, and then I was tweaking things a bit, and now I've settled on yogurt with homemade yogurt with granola, and occasionally oatmeal. But that's not necessarily the case for my family, especially for Yuma. His go-to breakfast has kind of evolved a little bit too. And I have some photos I'll share in just a little bit, but he has really liked uh, the idea of an egg in a nest. But which is when you have a piece of bread, and basically you just take a cup and cut a hole in the middle and butter it up, and then put the egg in the middle of the bread, and then, you know, depending on your preference, maybe you leave the yolk a little runny, and then you use that piece of bread that you cut out to kind of enjoy the yolk with. But when he was younger, he didn't like the egg part idea, but he loved the idea of making shapes out of the bread. And for a while, I tried to just say, how about a pyramid? Ooh, that's so fancy, you know, or how about a wheel, you know, to try and save myself time, but make it sound impressive. And it worked for a while, and then it got more and more complicated. And let me share my screen here. I took a photo of this one because I was a little bit proud of this one. It's a little bit hard to see what this is, but I think when I explain it, then you'll realize, oh wow, yeah. So Yuma really liked, at this point in his life, probably still, but he really liked construction equipment. And one of his favorites is a backhoe. And so here in the front here, we've got the bucket, and then we've got the cab, we've got the wheels, and even the back digging arm here.
Wow,
And
Barney, that is impressive. Well
I was
done.
really impressed with myself too. That's why
Amazing.
I took a photo that it didn't break. And then, you know, he asked me, "What's this part?" And oh, it's a boulder. You know.
I love it. I
Yeah.
love it.
And now these days he still does have he has an egg in the nest almost every day, but he has let me not make it so complicated. I had to make a penguin the other day, but then yesterday was just a hexagon. So that's not too hard. But yeah, it's fun. What we like to have for breakfast, and sharing breakfast is just so great. And it's just a little sample photo to get us started. But how about for you, Jacob? What are your kind of thoughts when you think about breakfast?
Yes, very similar to you. I think we've tried in our house to find the perfect breakfast for us, the best way to start the day, because you're right, after going all night without having anything, you're hungry and you're ready to get going for a new day. And so I think the yogurt and granola, and in this case with blueberries, is a real popular one for Katie. She really enjoys that. She makes her own granola, but we typically buy the yogurt at the store, and then yogurt with granola and maple syrup, believe it or not, is one of Hannah's favorites. And then eggs are huge in our house.
Oh, yeah.
Probably 4 times at least a week, if not more, we have eggs for breakfast, either scrambled eggs or fried eggs. Sometimes we're such enthusiasts for eggs, we'll even have breakfast for dinner, and we'll have eggs sometimes for dinner with pancakes and bacon or some other breakfast meat. But from time to time, Katie has done, she's really good at this, eggs in a nest for dinner. We typically have that for dinner instead of for breakfast, interestingly enough. But I agree that it is very much the case that breakfast sets a tone for the day. It gets you ready, and it's nice to start off well with that. And so as we get into our photos, I think we'll be able to unpack that a little bit more. And so I'd love to hear a little bit of what you have next in your photos for us today.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I wanted to start off the first photo that I had in my order. It's just a real simple one, but this was such a nice memory recently. So here it's just like maybe a third of a piece of bread and a hard-boiled egg, and you can see kind of some other artifacts on the table here. Like there's an empty dish and a glass of water, and a Lego forklift. Um, so this was a real special day that Yuma and Silas and I went out, and we went to just not a super fancy place, but not a real it was not a run of the mill place either. And this one in Japan, if you some places they have like a morning deal, a morning set, I guess. If you even if you just order coffee, you get some toast and an egg that's just included with it. And Yuma and Silas were so excited. They ordered smoothies, and they ordered corn soup, and they ordered French toast, and they ordered. Yuma actually ordered like a doria, which is like a casserole, I guess. Um,
Wow, they were really going for it and making the most of
they
that.
were they were, and the reason why I started with this and why I love this story is they were so kind to each other. And it wasn't just the usual it wasn't just me saying, can you let Yuma have, Yuma wants to have a taste of your smoothie. Could you let him have it? But they asked each other before I said anything. Yuma's like, he's like, we call Silas, we call him Sai Sai. He said, Sai Sai, my smoothie is so good. Do you want to try mine? And yes. And Yuma, do you want to try mine? Yes. And just
Wow.
they were sharing together. It was a real special time, and nothing got spilled, and there were no fights. And even though it was just three of us, it went so smoothly. And that was a recent memory. And then next I have next is tobacco again, and this is kind of our typical breakfasts. When we have extra time, these are like the pancake recipe that we have been able to perfect.
Those
I
look
think,
great. Wow,
yeah,
very
thank you.
thick and
Mm-hmm.
robust and
Mm-hmm.
fluffy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I wonder if this came up in the bread episode, maybe, or maybe we alluded to it. The flour we have in Japan is different. So if I use other recipes, it doesn't quite work. But this recipe is just great. And we don't have buttermilk here in Japan, but I mix some of the yogurt again with milk, with the milk and I guess it ends up acting kind of the same way, especially to react with the buttermilk or with the baking soda or baking powder, which really makes them nice and fluffy. And you can see from Yuma's face that they're really popular.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah, yeah,
He
yeah,
looks
yeah,
very happy with those
yeah,
pancakes.
yeah. And then talking about how it's breakfast is such a part of family and us being together. Here is Silas having his breakfast when he is before he's one, and yeah, Yuma having the chance. He's since it's breakfast, he's not tired, he's not worn out from the day. He's willing, he's happy, he wants to share with his brother and feed him his breakfast. And it's just such a nice way to share together as a family when we have a breakfast like this, when we have a little bit more time. And
That's a beautiful
um,
picture. I love that.
yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And Yuma likes to help Silas with his breakfast, and he used to like to help me with my breakfast. This is the granola and the yogurt, and lots and lots and lots of cinnamon.
Mm.
Much more than I'm used to. I do usually add a little cinnamon
He was really
to
helping you
mine,
that
but
time.
yes, not this much. He really wanted to help me with my
Let me really help
cinnamon.
you, Dad.
In this case, it's got to be healthy for something, and if you have more, well, that's just even better. So those are like a recent memory, and then kind of our typical um breakfasts that we have.
Wonderful. One of the things that I've learned over the years is that um, eating and time around the table can really nurture relationship. And Katie and I have found, as parents of teenagers and then an elementary school age child, that um, there aren't a lot of spaces in life where the two of us are just together working on a relationship. We're often in the context of family or doing a task, which is good. I mean, we like to do things together and get things done, but we've also found that without space for us to continue to work on our relationship and grow as a couple and get out of the role of parenting and just be Jacob and Katie conversing, that it's challenging. And breakfast has become for us one of those spaces where every so often, for a time, it was even once a week, but recently it's not quite that, but it's close, where we enter into this other space where there's room for us to talk and to share and to enjoy each other's company and some delicious food. And so I have a few pictures related to that. This first one is just kind of funny. Katie and I were at Panera. That was our breakfast place of choice for quite a while. And typically Saturday mornings, we would go to Panera. In the fall, there have been a lot of sports activities on Saturdays, so it hasn't quite been as regular in this season. But you can see here, we had a fun time putting the crumbs on our plates from our bread in the shape of the first letter of each of our names. So there's a K on the one plate for Katie and a J for Jacob. And so it's just kind of a chance to be goofy and fun, but then also to connect. Sometimes we would listen to a podcast ahead, anticipating the time at breakfast, and then talk about it there. Or we would frequently also get out our schedules and talk about the week ahead and plan, but also just enjoy some quieter time together. And so there's another place in addition to Panera that we've really enjoyed, and I'm going to go ahead and share a picture of that. It's a place called First Watch, and there are several of them. The location that we often go to is in Fairlawn, and they have really delicious pancakes and coffee and eggs. And here in this picture, you also see a chicken sausage. And they just are really good with finding unique takes on things too. Like during different seasons of the years, they offer different flavored pancakes. Like in the fall, they have a pumpkin flavored pancake, and there are different flavors throughout the years. And then, as you can see on the eggs and on the chicken sausage, they have some nice natural herbs and seasonings. So it's just a really delicious place. And I have a few other pictures from this restaurant. This is one breakfast that Katie had here. You can see in the middle of her plate, there's arugula, and she has scrambled eggs and an avocado with, I believe it's some type of seed. I don't know if it's sesame seed, and chicken and some potatoes there, maybe a sweet potato. And it was just a really interesting offering that they had. They have this menu that rotates as you go in, and just one day we came in, and so this was an interesting option, and Katie really enjoyed that. And then here's a breakfast item that I got one time, essentially a fusion of maybe some typical breakfast items we have, that eggs and cheese, but then with a Tex-Mex kind of Southwestern style, with a burrito wrapped in a burrito with some onions and tomatoes and some delicious sauce, almost kind of like similar to hollandaise sauce, but some flavorings of like the Southwestern style, and then some feta cheese sprinkled on top. It was just a very creative breakfast burrito. So so you can see why we really enjoyed this place a lot. And so I guess just to think of breakfast as a time when people can reconnect, and maybe for a couple, it's a chance for them to get space just to be a couple, or maybe if it's just other family members before school starts, it's a chance just to look each other in the eye and say hello. And I appreciate that. What do you have next for us, Barney?
Yeah, next I have kind of more unique, kind of maybe traditional photos. Um, so here, this one, we definitely talked about the cinnamon rolls in our episode on bread, and yeah, this was just last Christmas. This is kind a little take on what I would always have growing up on Christmas for breakfast. So there would be the cinnamon rolls and other things that my mom would make, and then here this sausage egg casserole that she would always make. And I think that she got the recipe maybe from Smithville Mennonite Cookbook, I think, or like a collection of cookbooks, and then the person who contributed this recipe is from Smithville
That looks
Mennonite, I think.
amazing, Barney.
Oh yeah.
Wow,
Oh,
how delicious and
it
rich.
it is a delight for
Wow.
sure. And it is a challenge to find the right ingredients. It should call for like ground sausage. And one year we were able to kind of fudge it a bit by getting sausage patties at Costco and then chopping them up. And then this year, I think we just used kind of a different natural sausage. Not exactly the same, but it worked. And yeah, and the cinnamon rolls, these are the ones from the bread episode that I said, boy, I just don't know if this yeast is going to do it. And I just don't know. And Yuma said, well, let's try it anyway. And they worked. And yeah, I love that I can share this with my family and, revisit my own memories and then make these as new memories for them too. And yeah, then soon after Christmas, of course, it's time for the New Year's, which isn't so important um, food wise in America as it is in Japan. And oh, sorry, I'll get to that. That I'll come back to that photo. And so this is a take on traditional Japanese food. As you
It's
can see, this is
beautiful.
yeah,
Oh,
this is
wow.
yeah,
The
this is
variety.
definitely So this is what they call osechi, and usually it's not exactly these foods because this is an Italian chef's a Japanese man who studied Italian cooking in Italy, and now he has an Italian restaurant here in Japan, where Ayako sometimes helps out, and especially his osechi is super popular. So she helped prepare this and got to take one home for all of her hard work. And in Japan, usually it's more, the shrimp is one thing, and then they have the pickled vegetables are another thing, and then they have everything has a meaning to it. Like kind of like how we have on New Year's, like pork, for prosperity, and then they have things that are related to longevity and health and things like that, and it was just remarkable. The food was so delicious, and we shared some with Ayoko's family too, and I just thought, I hope that they save a little bit more because I'd just like to have some more of this. And it was just a delight, and it was really just delicious. And um, you can see here down at the bottom, there's a tiny little note here, and this is for you can maybe Jacob, maybe you remember your hiragana for do and e. So this is dui or duikun, and Silas and Ayako took the time to write a little note for each of us, just saying the things that she appreciates about us and wishing us a nice upcoming new year. And she had those at our tables, and she knew that I like yogurt, so she has my yogurt here, and she just prepared this really nice breakfast for us. And here is a photo of us enjoying the osechi, and you can see this is a traditional soup that we have here. This little soup bowl there. And Ayako and I are having our special sparkling water, and then here in this little bowl, these are rice cakes, which are much different from what we think of a rice cake in America. These are like kind of the equivalent of like a bagel. It's really rice, glutinous rice that they pound flat and then stretch and then pound some more and then make it into these rice cakes that you can foil or toast or whatnot, and then these are covered with these kind of beige colored ones are covered with it's kinako, which is kind of a soybean powder, and then these kind of dark brown ones, it's sweet red bean paste, and then the other ones are just with butter on them. So it's just
Oh,
once a
they
year
look
that we have
delicious.
this, yeah, and it's a fun way to start the new year, and of course you can see everyone is really excited about starting the new year too. It was really nice for us,
Oh, I
and
love that.
mm, and then also speaking of traditions, the one that I skipped here we're having waffles, and this is something that I started that we do every year in June, and you can see the hint here as I'm wearing my Red Wings jersey. We have what I call draft day waffles. So whenever the NHL draft is on, I turn it on, I tune in on the radio, and I make waffles. And then nobody really understands why we're having waffles. You know, they're just happy to have waffles. But I tell them that it's the draft. The draft is on today. Got to have waffles. And so every year you could say I'm looking pretty young in the left one. Every year I make these waffles whenever the draft is on, and since it's the first round is the evening and on a Friday, so then for us it's Saturday morning. So it's the perfect time to just commemorate this day that doesn't have so much of meaning, so much importance. Don't know what's going to happen based on the draft, and just having a fun excuse, some whimsy to make waffles on that day.
I love that because it takes something that's very special and exciting for you, and it makes it into a blessing for your family. Like, I'm excited about this, and I want to celebrate by blessing you all with this delicious breakfast, and then they have and a kind of an excitement for the time
Hmm.
too, and you can
Hmm.
share in that. I love it. Yeah. Well, as you're talking there about unique breakfasts related to certain times of year, one of the traditions that we have in our house is a special breakfast. And I'll move it to it here in the slides for
Hmm.
Valentine's Day. And
Oh
Katie
yeah.
will prepare the night before and set a really fancy tablecloth with nice silverware and fancy goblets, and decorate it with pink and red um, uh, wrapping paper and decorations. And then
Mm.
she puts out some yogurt and um, granola and fruit for the kids, and they have some delicious chocolate
Oh
um,
yeah.
chocolate, almost like cupcakes, and
Mm.
some giant Hershey kisses. Each of them get a giant Hershey kiss, and then they get a little special Valentine's Day candy bag. And so they come down in the morning, and we have like these little tea lights, and often in this picture there's quite a bit of light in the room, but sometimes we'll
Mm.
turn off the light in the room, so it's
Oh.
just like the candlelight that they're eating too. And it's a very
Mm.
special tradition each Valentine's Day that they come down
Hmm.
to, and they've learned to really appreciate that. And then every so often, we as a family are
Ah.
able to uh, I'm jumping ahead here quite a bit,
Mm.
um, honor Katie with a special
Oh
breakfast for
yeah.
Mother's Day. And so
Uh-huh.
you have here a time when Micah and Aubrey were quite young, and they helped
Yeah.
me prepare Katie's Mother's Day breakfast. And we said, we want to bring it to you while you're in bed.
Yeah.
You see, we have mats on the floor. This was in a season in life where Hannah had come back from the hospital, and when we at that time were in a different house and didn't have bedrooms for
Hmm.
everyone, so we gave
Hmm.
her her own bedroom, and we were sleeping on mats. And so we
Uh-huh.
brought breakfast to Katie on this tray, and the kids got real excited, and she seemed to enjoy that. So there's a
Oh
nice
yeah.
Mother's Day occasion there.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's wonderful to have breakfast on holidays or special occasions, and to spruce it up and let it be extra
Oh yeah.
special
Oh
for
yeah.
sure.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Um, what are there other items that you like to share photos of for us about breakfast?
Yeah, I have. I think I have one more set, but first, I love how you guys really take Valentine's Day and Mother's Day and especially Valentine's Day, we often think of it as love for our spouse or our someone who's same generation as we are, um, and to share it, to make it special, to really share that love with your family too in such a unique way, to be able to help them feel included in what Valentine's Day is about, when they're younger, when maybe they don't quite grasp what it's kind of become, and or what it's kind of maybe intended for by default, but um, to expand the meaning of it and to share love in that way that you guys do, it's just so nice. It's
I
another one of
agree,
these.
Barney, and I will just give all credit for that to Katie. She came up with that vision, and the
uh,
first time she did it, I thought, how wonderful that she thought to do this, and the kids really appreciated it. And so I'm so grateful that she had that concept to begin with. To let's make this a chance to celebrate the children and
it's,
bless them, and it's just
yeah,
continued from there. So yeah, thanks for that.
I really like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the last photos I have, I kind of organized. These are maybe breakfasts that aren't so familiar to us in the U.S. Maybe, maybe so, maybe not. So here on the left, I have huevos rancheros. So I took my stab at it. I stab at it. My one friend in Hokkaido, actually, she had spent time in California, and she was really craving Mexican food and asked me for some recipes, and I found her this recipe, and I thought I better try it myself too. And so it was really nice to try that really different type of breakfast. It's pretty hearty, and to spice it up with, this is actually a, special spice from Portugal that we really like, peri peri sauce.
Oh wow.
And yeah, and on the right is I don't know, I don't know if it's necessarily so, but people call the recipes that it's Amish baked oatmeal. So so sometimes too, when
Ah.
we have the time to prepare it the night before, which is so nice, and then just bake it in the morning, and it's a bit sweeter than what you think of for oatmeal, but of course with blueberries is a really nice treat.
Oh yes,
Mm-hmm.
absolutely. That
Mm-hmm.
looks delicious.
Yeah. And then this is kind of the breakfast we would often have in Australia. We've been a few times to the Gold Coast area, and yeah, they really have lots of avocados. Avocados are really popular for breakfast there.
Mm.
Avocados and cheese, and then kind of different meats. Here's the enlarged picture here. Um, and a real nice, fun breakfast to have. Usually when you're on vacation, breakfast is maybe something that you have in the hotel, which I really, really like that too, and look forward to that a lot. But when we go to Australia, it's actually easier just to stay in an apartment. And then so we usually would go out for breakfast. And, here's Yuma. I think he's just not, maybe almost two even. And he was maybe having a fun time too. It was really I always, when I travel, I love food the most. And I really enjoyed those breakfasts.
Oh,
And
that looks amazing, Barney. I could see
uh-huh,
why you would like
uh-huh.
that.
Yeah. And then to bring things closer to home here in Japan, um, this is a very special breakfast. You can kind of see here at the very top is a hospital bed. So when Ayako had given birth, she in Japan, for natural births, you usually stay in your clinic for maybe 5 days, and then if you have a C-section, you stay for 7 days actually. Um, and yeah, they really take care of you. This is the breakfast that they prepared. She had quiche and sausage and a little bit of vegetables and a nice roll and some soup, and then even a small little coffee and then a little yogurt drink and some fruit that they prepared and a little cheese. And it's so nice that they do this for the moms because they've been through a lot.
Mm.
It was a really hard time. And then to be able to kind of really feel like, even the people at the hospital, the nurses and the staff are really, acknowledging them being moms and or new moms or moms again, and with this really treating them so wonderfully with just sometimes we think it's just a normal meal, breakfast, but to really elaborate on it and make it into this neat thing. I think that Ayako always, she looked forward to every meal, but I think breakfast for her was probably a way that she could feel a little bit of calm and a way to just take it easy to get her day going that way.
Absolutely. I really like the idea that they were really making an effort for the meal to be nice for the new
Mm-hmm.
mother, and
Mm-hmm.
that's a great value to have
Mm-hmm.
in a hospital or a community in general, is just to celebrate
Oh yeah.
and encourage parents, new mothers, as they're just starting out with some special things like a breakfast like that is a great
Mm-hmm.
way to do that. And
Mm-hmm.
that's beautiful. I love it.
Yeah.
Excellent.
And yeah, and then the last, I just have these last two. So this is a really traditional Japanese meal for breakfast. So I think this was at a hotel that we stayed at, and you can see there's a lot of variety, and it's a lot of things that we aren't used to in America. Rice and miso soup and a little bit of fish, and this is tofu here that is being heated up, and some pickled vegetables, and a very soft boiled egg, and more pickles, and it's it's really different, but it's nice. It's really nice in a way, and so many different flavors that you get to have, and another time where you can just sit down and enjoy it.
It's so
And
beautiful too. The presentation, it just aesthetically is just
mm-hmm,
very, very multicolored, and the different sizes of the serving dishes and how they're laid out. It's there's such an art to the presentation too.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, and then this put me in mind of a summer 8 years ago that I spent with a good friend of mine who he was a calligraphy teacher at one of the kindergartens I worked at, and he just invited me to his family home that he grew up at. No one's living there anymore, and once a year he would go there and clean it up, and it was pretty far away. But thanks to Ayako's tickets, I could go there easily. And he said, "Do you want to come one summer?" Yeah, I said. And every morning we would wake up. You can see his home is a really old traditional style home. We'd wake up in the morning, maybe before 6 even in July, and try to clean up the ground a bit and make it look nice. And then it would be time for breakfast, and we'd go back inside and we would have broiled fish and green tea and rice. And then he always asked me to make him a salad, and to make salad for both of us. And he said, I just want to confide in you that of all the food that my wife makes or that I've ever had, you just make the best salads.
Oh, wow. What a compliment.
I know.
Amazing.
Yeah. And yeah, you can see that he wasn't quite 70, but he was quite a bit older than I am. And we just were able to be friends. And I thought about, talking about this, he's a calligrapher, so he's an artist, and he took on a pen name of Momotaro, and Momotaro Sensei, and we just had a real kindredness, or real fondness for one another, even with this big gap in our age and our language ability, and just we always had lunch together at that kindergarten. And, we met together, as you can see, often outside of school as well. And it was just at that simple meal that, we worked first a bit, an hour or so, and then had breakfast. And just, we did it, those 2 and 3 days that I stayed there, and just something about being able to share that together. Um, of all the things that we did when we were there and the time that we had, it we did a lot of different things, but there was something special about the regularity of that meal. It was the same each day, and just sitting down together, it was such a great memory. And he's since passed away, but I'll really never forget those fun times that we had there, and then being able to have, this, what a lot of people would think is an unusual breakfast of fish and rice and salad. And it was such a nice time to be able to experience that. And kind of, as they say, when you're waking up in the morning and you think, oh, my is my stomach ready for this? But venturing out there and having this, kind of different flavors, um, it gives you the chance sometimes to really share new experiences with the people around you, especially if you're in their culture.
Wow. Barney, thank you for sharing that. That was very meaningful.
Mm-hmm.
That um, remembrance and memory and cherishing another friend or person can be tied to a regular activity like breakfast, and to cherish the time just spent in doing that with the other person. As you're saying that, it makes me think of uh, some family members who have gone on
Mm.
that Katie and I love dearly. That there were some very special memories around breakfast with them, and maybe I'll share a few pictures
Yeah.
just to piggyback on what you were sharing there. And the first one here, and I will go to it, is of my mother.
Oh,
Um, this was around Thanksgiving. You can see possibly the picture is a low resolution picture, but she's holding an apple,
yeah.
and she's carved it in such a
Mm-hmm.
way that it's meant to
Mm.
be in the shape of a turkey. So if you see on the sides of the apple, there are these
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
indentations, and then
Uh-huh.
they're as you work further back, they're protruding outward like wings. And
Yeah.
then on the back of the apple, it's part of the apple that was cut off. It's inserted upward like the plume feathers, the tail feathers of the turkey. And then there's a little indentation in the front that's meant to be the head. But my mom really spent a lot of time making breakfast special, particularly
Mm.
around the holidays. Like as you shared earlier with your mom, and the
Mm-hmm.
casserole and the cinnamon rolls,
Mm-hmm.
those were things that my mom liked to make. In her case, it was more quiche than
Oh.
casseroles, but she
Uh-huh.
would frequently make quiches around the holidays, and cinnamon rolls, and
Mm.
um, definitely um, eggs and bacon and pancakes and
Mm.
waffles. Those were among the regular rotations. And you talked a little bit about your friendship in the previous photos,
Mm-hmm.
and how service was a part of
Yeah.
the habitus, or the routine around breakfast, um, accomplishing some tasks and then eating. In our family culture, on a Saturday, we would have a very big breakfast, and then we would go out and do yard work or do some projects around the house.
Ah,
So it was
yeah.
reversed, but
Uh-huh.
it was
Uh-huh.
a breakfast in anticipation, a big breakfast to get
Yeah.
you ready in anticipation of
Mm-hmm.
getting work done. And so that's something I really appreciated. And here's another shot of my mom hosting us over one of the holidays. And you can see it's around the time of the fall, because there's a pumpkin there that she has actually baked, and she hollowed it out, and then she has some items in it set up
Whoa.
for us to enjoy as we eat. And so that's another special memory of my mom. And then I'll just mention one other thing, and this
Mm-hmm.
pertains to my wife Katie.
Mhm.
Uh, Her mother passed away very early in our marriage, and um, anytime you lose a parent, it's
Mm.
hard. But at that point in Katie's life, she just had our first child, Micah. He was very young, maybe close to a year old when her mom passed away.
Mm.
And then um, her younger brother was uh, not quite yet in high school. And so he
Mm.
was quite young to lose his mom. And so we really felt that loss, especially Katie. And There's something very special that has emerged over the years. The person to the right on this photograph,
Yeah.
her name is Margie. She was a college roommate with Katie's mom and became just, I would best basically say, the best friend of her mom, and
Mhm.
stayed in contact with her over the years, and has continued to this day
Wow.
to schedule regular breakfasts with Katie and our family. And it's become such a tradition that we really just refer to her as Aunt Margie, because she's like a family member. She invites us and we join her. There's a place in Rittman, Ohio, um, called the Depot, which is this old
Mhm.
time diner type place and an old, basically like a train station or a depot. And we go there and enjoy breakfast with her. And it's just special to have connection with somebody who knew her mom. And
Mhm.
this ritual around this breakfast is a space to remember and enjoy what's going on now in life, but from time to time, even to remember and reminisce with gratitude about Katie's mom, Pam, who from time to time Margie will reflect on and
Mhm.
share stories about, and it's a chance for us to be grateful. And so I just wanted to end there with echoing what you said, that even when people go on, we can still remember them fondly. And some of these basic routines and rituals, like eating breakfast, can be a part of that remembering and celebrating and honoring um, these people that we love and care about. So, is there anything else that you would like to mention before we close? And I'll leave it to you after that
Mhm.
to end our time.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just so neat that we could take this simple everyday topic of breakfast, and it was fun to look at it together with you today, Jacob, and to see that, to unpack, really more about breakfast, to see what a really big impact it has on our lives. Even though, it's something that we do every day. Um, Most of us, I think that maybe the phrase, it's the most important meal of the day, really does go much deeper than just sustaining you for getting ready for what's ahead. Um, I think we were able to see a lot of importance behind breakfast today, and in a real fun way, in a meaningful way. And yeah, we hope that you will, when you're maybe having breakfast now, as you're listening to this, and take a moment and just stop and think about the breakfast, what you're doing, and those around you are doing today, or maybe the people that you see around town, as you finished your breakfast and heading out. And we are so thankful for you joining us here today, and we hope that you could find some meaning and some new thoughts reflecting on breakfast for yourself as well. And we are grateful for you listening with us today and watching with us today, if you are. And we are looking forward to the next episode and hope that you are too. And we will see you again then. Bye.